gonna wind it
like that.
Yeah, no, the winding. People want to hear you rehab.
I'll do that when when we have a mic.
We'll close out with it.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Mixed Surfaces Podcast. We had a lot of fun stuff to talk about this week. Unbound happened last weekend. We're, I think, all doing a postmortem and diagnosing the carnage that went on there. But we'll dig into that. What went well? What went wrong? What was funny? Do we ever want to do this race again? I don't think so. But always want to thank our partners. As always, we got our two favorite bike shops, Flat Tire Bikes over in Greensburg, PA, and a World of Bikes in Iowa City, Iowa. Also, thanking our other partners for the year. We got Z&G Partners, which is helping with all of your business services needs. Feel free to reach out to us if you want us to get connected there. We also got Volet Factory Apparel, some of the best clothing out there for cycling or casual wear. And then we've also got Obed Bikes keeping us fast and keeping us hungry. A lot of Obed bikes, a lot of light speed bikes out there at Unbound this week. I saw a bunch of those. We got Real and Nutrition for your recovery needs, olive oil for olive oil supplements, some of the best olive oil out there. And who am I forgetting? Anybody else, Uriah?
I think that's it.
Man, if I forgot you, just let me know. But yeah, so big week, man. I guess let me just ask you, I watched the live stream, which we can get into that here in a little while, but I thought about you a lot watching that race, worrying about you, wondering if Yvonne maybe had a blanket wrapped up around you, or maybe you had a poncho on or had your paint stick, because it was a muddy year this year. And the last time you raced this race, it was muddy too. What year was that?
22.
2022. Yeah. So you did some paint sticking of your wheels and walking, right?
Yeah, 3.5, 4 miles of hiking. And 22 didn't get as much fanfare around the mud as subsequent years, because the pros, so it rained during the race. But by the time the road where it got really muddy for the rest of us motor people, the pros had already crossed that, had already ridden past that. So just as the normies hit that mud. So by the time, even by nightfall or whatever, there was more rain. The pros were already done. So it would never made the news. But yeah, I was looking at those people scraping their tires, derailleurs broken off, chains just hanging there. And I was like, man, I still, it was like yesterday. I'm glad I am not out there, because I don't know if I can take that PTSD anymore.
Oh, dude, it looked like carnage though. And I think what was so fun about it was that, everyone, I think, lulled themselves into a false sense of security. And they were like, it's going to be dry. Like, there'll be some wet spots. It'll be dry, but it's going to be dry. And then you could see like the Instagram posts, the YouTube posts of bike checks and course recons. Like, everyone is out there having fun, like not worried.
Safety blankets.
And I think that feeling was there even until I think like mile 13.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was dry. It looked dry. And then all of a sudden it was like the gravel, the spirit of gravel struck back. And was like, it's like, screw your aero wheels. Screw your aero bars.
Your aero forks with your fairing. We don't care.
Yeah, we don't care. We are going to make you walk.
That stuff is just going to add pounds to your bike.
Dude, and it was I just felt like it was such a humbling experience for cyclists as a whole, because there is nothing funnier than watching someone who's really fast on their bike try to run with their bike. Because the athletic nature of a cyclist comes out so much. And it was just, I was watching like Joe Gettle's raw footage, which you guys should check that out. Maybe we could link it in the comments, but in the show notes. But yeah, like just watching these dudes running up the side of the road, and it's mile 13 of a 200-mile race.
That kind of sucks. Like having to run like that, like your body, especially elite cyclists, you're so fine-tuned to just pedal your bike fast. Now all of a sudden you're running a mile. That is taking the. I don't even know how do you even train for that?
Dude, I don't know. Let me also, before we get further into Unbound, I guess I know we've got a lot of seasoned listeners and things like that, but I just do want to like characterize what Unbound is. It is like the Super Bowl of gravel, hardest gravel race I would say in North America. I mean, maybe not the hardest, because like some people could argue there's some backwoods race and like
Crushing Natasha,
yeah, or something like that. But 200 miles in the Kansas Flint Hills, notoriously known for wind, notoriously known for sharp rocks and punctures, and also mud on occasion. And this year was a mud year. So that's what we're talking about today. But anyways, Aria, you were going to say.
Yeah, no, it's so, and I struggled, like, maybe you can help me understand this. It's this, I need to reach out to some of these pro riders to kind of get an idea. I see that most pros who just try to ride that mud, and especially Unbound, like in the Midwest, let's be honest, in the Midwest is peanut butter mud. There's plenty of videos out there saying, hey, you get in the grass and you ride your bike there or run there. But watching Joe Gatto's video and a bunch of other people are trying to ride that, and then it just marks up, and then it's like they do a recon. Are they not watching the videos like, hey, as soon as I dip, how much energy, maybe time, do you lose by just getting off your bike, running in the grass, and then you come out of that with a freaking clean bike and taking off? What's the balance there? I'm kind of confused.
I don't think it's a balance. I think it's like maybe one of the core like instincts of bike racing, which is the worst thing that you can ever see in a bike race is someone else going up the road. And like, no, like I thought the same thing. Like I watched Drew Dillman's video, and like Drew was talking about how he dropped his chain, and I see him get off, and there are people passing him, right? You know, he's passed a bunch of people, but there are people passing him, and he's working on his chain. He's working on his chain, and you can't see his face, but you can almost see his like thought process, which is, okay, too many people have passed me now. Even though my chain isn't on, I'm going to pick up my bike and I'm going to run with them. And like, I'm thinking to myself, like, what is the point of running with your bike if you still have to put it back down and fix it? Like,
that's true.
And so I think people have that feeling. It's same with like riding into mud or riding through that water, right? You know, it's like, if the person next to you that you're racing against is going to do it, like you might as well do it too.
Yeah.
Like, but I mean,
look at this carnage here. So it looks like some of them are getting like a little bit anticipating this and like, you know what? Let me jump off my bike immediately, jump to the side, and but already, man, like Joe Gatto's bike here is already covered.
Yeah,
it's
I mean, you're 20 miles in, right? So it begs the question, like logically you would think, okay, if my bike is covered, the wheels won't turn because they're full of mud. It does not make sense to pick up your bike and run with that heavy mud and then put it down and scrape it off later, which is what we saw so many people try and do. And like we've all been victim to that, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if you're in like the world tour or if you're on your like neighborhood group ride, like, you're going to do everything you can to like hang on to the group when you're racing. And I think it's just that instinct happens, and it's like, but it was wild. But I also think it's going to, I'd ask you, so clearly, recon was done on Wednesday, recon was done on Thursday, recon was done on Friday. I even heard Keegan say that he sent someone out before the race on Saturday to that first MMR at mile 13 and said, hey, check the roads for me so I can like decide what tires I'm going to do. So he walked, 100 yards in and said, it looks okay. Turns out it was not okay. But do you so like that was pretty intense, but do you think that this is going to change the approach to how Unbound is raced on a muddy year? Like, I've got some thoughts, but like, I'm curious to know what you think.
Dude, so so my whole Saturday was, I don't want to say wasted, but I was watching. I didn't do too much. It was just kind of going back and forth on Unbound. When I saw that wheel change from Keegan to Mas, I knew that with the gravel that we know is over.
Say it.
The
Say
spirit
it.
of gravel.
I know.
It's the spirit of gravel lives on in the Gravel Hall of Fame. That's it.
And that's it.
Uh,
Teams are
I'm
here.
thinking we're gonna see people camping out there, recon people in the 2 a.m. checking out the course, checking out those trouble spots. So the teams with the deepest pockets, Specialized, Scott, all those other guys, Trick, they're gonna have people there. I'm thinking people are gonna have different wheels and tire combos waiting for them at their aid station. That way, like, okay, I'm gonna use this for the mud section, and then when we get out of here, throw this on here. It's over, man. I think I'm thinking we're gonna see it's different dead.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Like, I mean, we can go back to the wheel change here in a second, but I think the strategy around recon is one thing, and you make a really good point there, which is that I think there's going to need to be real-time updates of critical sections of the course, like conveyed back to the riders and the team leaders, like for the 12 hours leading up to the race. And then real-time decisions are going to be made. It's going to be like it's now, okay, here's what Unbound is now. It's not a gravel race anymore. It's not a road race. You know what it is?
What is it?
Now it's just a super, super long cyclocross race.
Yeah, that's really what it is. Actually, I don't even dispute that. Like, I don't dispute that. Like,
I mean, it is.
It really is. It really is.
But I actually think that's kind of cool. Like well, I have two feelings about it. So say like gravel takes that next step in evolution, and now we're talking about, okay, the bike, the frame can't be changed, but anything on the frame can be changed, like within a race. I mean, I'm sure teams are going to be able to back into a race and say, like, well, we spent, you spent 6 minutes walking here, you spent, 5 minutes being slow here. Like, we probably could have changed wheels and taken 30 seconds to do that at the pit stop. So I think that's cool, but like, it also is going to hurt privateers, right?
Yep.
Because, just like this, I think it's the reason that cyclocross is dying in the United States, is that to be a cyclocross racer seriously, you need to show up to a race with 3 bikes and 10 sets of wheels. And I mean, last I checked, not everybody can afford that. That's like $100,000 just in bike equipment. And it's
I forget what was the rule change that Keegan and them said, and Alexi was saying that they were advocating for to help people that are not established in the privateer program to be able to get into the lifetime. I don't remember what it was, and then fast forward literally not even a year, not even 6 months, Keegan joins the biggest budget team in off-road racing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, to your point, privateers, if you're not a privateer, if you're a privateer, I don't think you can win a big race now.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I disagree to an extent, because I think that there are still,
if the big teams are there.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll see, because we've still got Leadville, we've still got Big and Little Sugar, and Schwamigan, right? So like, we'll see. I think a race like Schwamigan could be won by anybody, because but longer gravel races, I do see your point with the team support. Like, that seemed to be the narrative that I heard this year, was that like, without the team support, there would have been no way that these riders would have made it. Like, I mean, you could say that all the way from the top to the bottom. I mean, without taking Keegan's wheel, Mads Wordschmidt
would have been out. It would have been done.
He maybe he throws a tube in it, and maybe he gets a bike change, and he is still the strongest rider on the day. But like, Beers was catching him, in the final stretch. And so, granted, they're on the same team, but I think that's interesting. But like, I also think, to the point that, I think that it could be a positive feedback cycle, in the sense that the field could get deeper when it comes to sponsorship and support. Because if these, say, Specialized is kind of entered the frame this year, and and they're making waves, right? Like, everybody's
buying it.
I mean, the new Crux comes out. Do you know how many Cruxes they're going to sell just because they went 1, 2, 3, 5 in the men's, and then 1, 2 in the women's?
Women,
so other brands, like, and Trek has their driftless team, but like other brands, I think are going to say like, oh, hey, this actually makes a whole lot of sense. Like we should get some riders too, and do that to where like maybe it's like Lauf, like Lunchbox teams on Lauf, but like maybe they actually become a real team, that has like a big sponsor. So I don't know. Maybe there's more opportunity now and less need for privateers, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. And I think that's right. This is a really serious tipping point for US gravel, because in a way it was enticing because people didn't have to be on a team. You ran your own program and that was it. You did your social media, you did your YouTube, Facebook, if you're into that kind of thing. Now, if you look at Lunchbox team, for example, Dillman, strong rider, like a bunch of the people they have in their group are strong riders, but they're still kind of individually trying to win the race by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think clearly, like Keegan, I guess let's rewind. Do you think if Keegan had good legs, he would have given him the wheel if Maz wasn't riding him off his wheel? Do you think?
Oh, I think Keegan had great legs.
Yeah.
Like
he said in the cool down that Maz was killing him.
I know. I think Mads Word Schmidt was the 2 times junior world champion time trialist. He was the U23 world champion time trialist. Yeah. He's a former World Tour pro. I love Keegan, but like for me, like the narrative here is that we always wondered, was he a big fish in a little pond, or was he, truly a shark? And I think like while there have been other World Tour pros that have come over to race gravel, like that you saw it with Emil Herzog. He rides for Red Bull Bora. I think he beat Keegan, but like Keegan still got 5th. He still dropped the whole group. I think that like I listened to Alexi and Keegan's cool down interview, and the reason I know that Keegan had good legs was because he was saying he was like Mads was pushing 400 plus watts over every hill. And he kept telling him, he was like, listen, I know I can push up to 400, but I can't push over 400 on these hills. And that says to me, like, no, I wasn't not feeling good. It says to me,
okay, this is my limit.
This is my limit. I know what my limit is. Like, if you can go faster than that, then like, if we're going to stay together, you got to slow down. And that's what we saw.
And let's give Keegan some credit, man. That the guy doesn't have excuses, right? Mm-hmm. He, any other person would have been like, I didn't have the, like, for me, I misread it, but your explanation makes the most sense. Any other guy would have been like, I didn't have the best legs. That's why I couldn't do it. But he's just like, hey, you know what? I just need to train harder. I wasn't able to hang with the guy that day. So that's kind of really commendable.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't think about that at all. But you're right. He's so humble, and dude, mad respect to him. Like, if you guys want to see calmness under pressure, so when they had that flat, so for context, Mads Word Schmidt and Keegan Swinson, teammates for the Specialized team, were off the front of the men's elite race and had a 9-minute gap on the next group. Mads Word Schmidt cuts his tire from basically the rim wall all the way to like the bead. So huge gash. They try to put like 12 plugs in it, catastrophic failure. So Keegan is like, all right, take my wheel, which is cool. Problem is that these free hubs and cassettes these days, I'm sure some of you know, they'll fall right off if you turn it the wrong way. And so that's what happened. And he had forgot to put a spring back in. So like he rides off, realizes his free hub's not working, runs back, has the wherewithal to think about, oh, I missed a spring. I need to put it back together. Puts it back together wrong again, takes it back apart, and then puts it back together and gets going again. And then finishes 5th. Like, that just blows my mind. But
that was impressive. Like, I didn't see the guy panicking.
No, he didn't.
And, and you could see, like, the clock is ticking, but I think just practicing that, being able to just, like, hey, stay calm, let's get this done, because the more panicking, things get worse, right? You start to mess things up. That's really impressive.
Yeah.
How about that? that ride from Paige. I think is there? I thought there was a in the World Tour there was an award for the person that rides the most aggressive, like just like
In each race, there is every stage gets the most aggressive rider.
I think Paige earned that.
Oh yeah, I think so
The
too.
number of times that she was able to bridge back to a group of full like top hitters, all that have won Unbound, to me is that woman has been putting the work in. It was pretty impressive.
She was so impressive. Like she just continued to get dropped and continued to come back.
Back.
You know what was impressive too is that she would come back and she'd immediately get into the rotation and start pulling. She didn't argue, which was crazy. And then even when they were coming into town, going up that final hill, she's like the one that's trying to rip it apart. Just doing everything she can. So props to Paige.
Yeah, my only gripe was that when they're coming into the sprint, I'm watching it. I'm like, and this is where maybe the coaches, I don't know like what her conversation is with her coach. Like, hey, you're in the break. There's 400 meters left. Where do you sit so that you can launch your wheel? And looks like Guy and Paige somehow they were in the third, fourth wheel, and somehow they kind of slow down, and they get in the front, and then Sophia is now sitting third wheel with the left wide open. I was like, that's it. I knew. By the time you realize that she's sprinting, she's already got 4 bike lengths on you. So I was kind of disappointed there.
I've got a gripe about that sprint. Like for a 200-mile race that is notoriously now coming down to group sprints, especially in the women's field, that's happened 3 of the past 4 years.
Yeah,
like it is such a narrow chute for them to sprint in, and it's a narrow chute with like old school barriers, just like those wire barriers.
They'll rip you.
That would be my call to lifetime, is to figure out how to, and they've made steps where now they have the separate pro elite finish and they have the amateur finish, but they're still basically now there's one lane and one lane. They've got to find a way to allow these ladies and these men to sprint if they want to, because positioning aside, they've been on the bike now for 10 plus hours, 11 plus hours. They're meant to ride full throttle. And so for the positioning, because I don't know, but I need to go back and watch the sprint. But you're right that Sophia obviously had the open and was able to sprint from the front. But I just feel like if it had been a wider lane, there could have been at least an opportunity for everyone to go.
Kind of like a regular quick finish, right? Usually you about 10. You could go 10 wide if you wanted to, So that little narrow thing it just pigeonholes it, and the first person that lights up the sprint is almost always going to win it. If you look at the men 2024 maybe when Torben Road won it. Once he looked, I guess he did catch Brendan Johnson when he went earlier, but it's gotta open it up, and that was Big Sugar, but Big Sugar has a wider finish than Unbound, so really their biggest A race, they should have a wide. Yeah, I definitely agree. Pretty cool.
Or maybe have the I don't know. Something needs to be done though. But I thought that was interesting. So we talked a little bit about tires and pits and things like that, but dude, the amount of dropped chains that were out there was you talk about doing all these things and optimizing your bike, but if your chain doesn't stay
your chains, endurance cheap, speed cheap.
Right. What? So I assume most everybody was on some sort of. I didn't see any front derailleurs, at least in the elites.
No.
So I assume everybody was on a one by.
Even Alexi switched over.
And I know Beers dropped his chain at a critical point. Everyone, Dillman, that's what really held him up. It wasn't tire clearance. I think a lot of people had that issue, and I'm kind of curious. I know that there are issues when it comes to SRAM. So if you have a one by and you're on SRAM right now, you're most likely your front chainring is not going to be an old school chainring which is narrow. It's a narrow, wide tooth setup, which increases efficiency and, is better overall for the 1x system when it comes to cross chaining and things like that. But I do think that it introduces, with that variability, like bigger issues when you get mud and debris and things like that inside of it. And, I looked and the first thing I think I'm going to do on this bike and then probably my Obed is put a chain guide on there.
Yes. So that was my next question. How does a professional rider, Drew Dillman, didn't have a freaking chain guard on his bike? How do you mess that up?
I don't know. I mean, I guess like even a chain guard. So like a chain guard would be at least a little bit better because it's more for like if you have a front derailleur, it just kind of keeps it from overgoing. But a chain guide like actually like places keeps it on there. So it, from bumping and from side to side, up and down and side to side, where like a chain catcher only goes like sideways and up. But anyways, I guess like they're worried about clogging the drivetrain, like stuff getting up in there. But man, like
then what's the alternative? Your chain comes off.
Exactly. So I mean, I think that would have solved a lot of people's problems. And I think if you look, like, I mean, Mads Word Schmidt had one, Keegan had one, Beers had one, Tobias Kongstad had one. I think like everybody in the top 6 or 7 had something, at least a chain catcher, if not a chain guide on there. So pro tip, if you're riding in any kind of muddy or like questionable conditions, put a chain guide on. But
so I was really kind of disappointed. I was like, come on, Drew, like that's something, I mean, even I knew all my bikes have that, chain guard. Obviously I'm not going to be winning anything anytime soon, but I do have a plan to podium this year.
What are you going to podium?
At Gravel Worlds age group. I think I'm going to ride my fat bike.
Fat bike? Is there a category?
I believe so.
So you're gonna are you gonna arrow it out?
No, not really. It's gonna be hard work, but I think I'm gonna do it, man.
Dude, you should call up your buddy Chase, and you should build one of those arrow fairing like water. Remember when he raced Unbound with that like homemade fairing on there? I don't know. I think if you want to win, I think you're going to need to get a Volet skin suit, without a doubt, and some Aero socks, shoe covers.
I'm gonna need one of those hydration packs.
Hydration pack. Do it. When is Gravel Worlds?
Sometime in August, I believe. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I know side rant. So I want to talk about the dominant, like, what are your thoughts on, I'm looking here, I got the list up of like top 10, top 20. What's going on with the Euros coming over here and taking our lunch? Or do we, because in the early days of Unbound, I remember a certain podcast, not us, talking about how the Euros don't have it figured out, that they can't race Unbound, that's why they can't do well.
What is it they say? There's a certain host that says they're gonna get hot, they're gonna flat, they're gonna quit.
Yeah, yes, that's it right there.
I don't remember who said that, but some certain YouTuber podcast host, not to be named.
Right. So it's like now we're like, do you? What is your thought on that? What do we see on Unbound coming up? Do you, as the race gets bigger, do you anticipate that we're gonna see more of this kind of setup where just top 20 is gonna be, some of the best riders in the world, not just the US, dominating our leaderboard?
Yeah, I think you're onto something there, and I've thought about this. Because like I think the Americans are strong, and especially when it comes to the elevation, like races like Leadville. there's something to be said at training regularly at 10,000 feet,
Yep.
which like the Euros don't really have a whole lot of chance to do. But you know what I think the big difference is, and why the Europeans are perhaps better right now, is that I think positioning in the pro gravel peloton is becoming extremely, extremely important. It's not about how strong you are. It's not about how, what equipment you're on necessarily. Like for a race like Unbound, which there aren't a whole lot of turns and things like that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to getting into position before the critical pieces and being comfortable with riding at a high speed on like variable conditions, I just think that the Europeans, especially like the Belgians, the Dutch, some of the Scandinavians, like, these guys grow up and girls grow up riding these like Dutch kermesses, and they're on these just farm lanes, and they're on road bikes, and they're all 200 pounds and 6'5" and putting out 500 watt FTPs, and they do this from like the time they're like 13 until they go pro. So I think with that, like there comes a certain level of comfort of, okay, everyone knows that, when you're riding on the road, like I can be bumping bars with somebody and it's like, okay, we're touching each other. It's no big deal.
Just how it is. Yeah.
But like on gravel, everybody gives a little bit more space. And I think these Euro guys are just like, no big deal. Like I'm just going to ride it.
The bottom blast to go through this puddle, we'll do that,
And so with that, like maybe they still got, afflicted by the mud and things like that, but they still are getting the line choice. And it'd be interesting to go back and look at the race footage to say like, okay, if you look at critical sector by critical sector, who were the first 5 into that sector when it was a full peloton, right? Like when it was a full group. And I think that's the difference. And so until the US guys get comfortable with that, which they will, they'll come, I think that's what you're seeing right now. If I had to guess.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you have dudes like Dillman, who's been getting, let's be honest, I give him no credit. I like to give him a hard time because of some of the stuff he says is kind of weird left field stuff. But he's been getting better every season. He's a diesel, looks like. I think he just kind of stays pretty consistent. Yeah, but like you said, the road race, and he did crits, so you'd think he would, be good in fighting for position, which I think. Where did Dillman end up anyway? What was his position?
I think he was in the maybe top 30. I do know that he got 4th in the wild card, so he didn't make it in, unfortunately, which would have been fun. I think he would have been a good personality to have. But Matt Wilson made it.
Hannah Shell.
Hannah, friend of the podcast, Hannah smoked it and got into the wild card. Yeah, she's
in there. I was trying to look for Dillman here. So. All right. The other thing, a friend of one of our favorite podcast listeners, a friend of ours now, was saying, like, looking at DJ Dylan Johnson's like performance. Yes, Dylan was sidelined last year, hit by a car. Crazy intense recovery and some emotional stuff that just comes with that PTSD from. Do you, obviously it's no secret that he had put a lot of his chips on the Lifetime Grand Prix for the longest time. Do you think that his lack of performance is might be attributed to maybe he needs to do more races? Because if you're looking on the general, like most of these other guys, especially the Euros, they're doing like a lot more races. Like they're like, do you think he's losing some sharpening edge by just training and only focusing on the race, or should he get out there and do all the BWR series and just kind of mix it up and kind of get that race experience back?
Yeah, I don't know. It's impressive that Dylan has been able to recover the way he has. And still, he's still, I think, was top 50, right, or something like that, and super fast race, and his power numbers are there and things like that. And that's the one thing is like, okay, mental and emotional issues aside, his power. He always posts about how his power is better than his average speed was better year over year. Like I honestly just think that we're seeing again the evolution of athletes in gravel. And what I mean by that is like Dylan is, if you've watched how he's like evolved his racing style over the years, it's less about what other people are doing and more about what he's going to do, which means, and that goes to everything from like the tech that he uses and his setup all the way to his race strategy, right? His best Unbound gravel result, like that ninth he got a couple of years ago, was because he like maintained his power targets and he stayed where he was gonna in his range. I just think that strategy works for so long, but like at a certain point, the race is going to continue to get faster, which he is openly saying. And I just think that like perhaps there's a ceiling for every rider, and as the sport evolves, like certain riders are going to fall off in that way. So to your question, should he race more to get more fit? I don't necessarily think that is the case, but I do think that he needs to alter his strategy to find races that suit his capabilities, right? So, if it's obviously not sprints. I mean, maybe Leadville, like
because he's used that strategy to really do well at Leadville, where he just holds the power. And Leadville actually is a perfect race for that. That you kind of be like, this is the power I'm gonna do. Obviously, minus the Keegan and Simone Pelot and some of those other guys that are beasts and stuff. That if you hold your power, you're gonna do well. If you don't fade in the back half of the race.
Yeah, I see Dylan. If I had to guess, I see Dylan transitioning more towards like ultra endurance events. Like I bet maybe next year we see him back at like the Unbound XL or doing some of these bigger, longer distance races.
Trucker,
Yeah, something along those lines. But or maybe like what's it, Ned Bank?
Yeah, Ned Bank. Yes, yeah.
I know he had an invite to go last year, so I bet he goes this year.
Which that makes sense. So like use your skill where it's gonna. Yeah, because it's like you get into Unbound now. It's even with Mud, these guys are still finishing crazy time, right? I think the ceiling up there is just kind of getting crazy.
Yeah, I totally agree. What do you? All right, we can't not talk about 32-inch wheels.
Yes.
So, I think one of the most defining. First off, let's say 32-inch wheels clearly work on long distances because Robin Gimperley, Cam Jones' teammate, he did win the 350. But I think it was by like 8 minutes or something like that, and he didn't shatter any records, of course, because it was a tough course this year, tough conditions, but he did win, so you gotta put that out there. But Cam, I thought it was really interesting because he was with, who was it, Beers, and was it Brennan Johnson? I don't know. Or is that who he was pulling with when they were trying to chase back Keegan or trying to chase back Mads? And Cam Jones blew up in a way that was similar to when Matthew Vanderpool blew up in the World Championships of like 5 years ago.
I was disappointed to see that.
Dude, I haven't heard anything about what happened. Like if he got his nutrition wrong, it must have been a hunger flash.
I think he lost a bottle or something is what I heard. I don't know where I saw this. Man. I think he might have lost a bottle, which you lose 100, because he's a big guy, high carb guy, and he's a big guy physically for a cyclist. And I think he lost a bottle somewhere in one of the earlier sections. So you lose a bottle of that caliber, man, you're kind of done, especially for a guy that size.
That's such a good point. Yeah, I mean, I think Keegan said it was like a 10,000 calorie day, and Keegan's probably 20 pounds less than Cam is.
Correct.
So like Cam's probably putting out 13,000 calories over the course of that race. So and at a certain point, you're operating on thin margins when it comes to refueling. So, but he blew up into a billion pieces.
Dude, I remember like there's a shot of him going over that lake, But the year I did it, we went the opposite way on that lake.
So you didn't have that big hill to climb?
No, but we had like 3 other crazy hills to climb. But people were cheering him on, like, come on, Cam, like he's right there. But it's like you could see he's kind of digging hard, trying to like push. And when you're like totally cracked, I think he had bonked. I don't think like performance was an issue. He just had bonked. There was not enough carbohydrates in the system. and you could see he's like, and it's windy. He's kind of down, just trying to go, man. But like, it's just no energy. You need the energy to push those massive quads.
No, that section across the dam and then the ride back, like in the women's race especially, I remember seeing it, and I was like, they're going 5 miles an hour on the flats, and I just was thinking to myself, like, those are the moments when I really don't ever want to do a gravel race ever again, because like those moments happen, and like for me, when I don't know, and I'm curious what the listeners think, but when I am in like 100-mile race and all of a sudden there's a section where I'm pushing a lot of watts, but I'm not going fast,
going anywhere,
and I just look at how far I've come, and I look how far I have to go, and I think about my average speed that I'm going right now and how long it would take me to get home if I keep this average speed up. And most of the time it goes away because like the course changes or something like that. Like I had moments like that at Sea Otter where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get back. But Unbound is not that way. It's, you look at that and you're like, oh, I'm moving 7 miles an hour and I'm pushing 300 watts. And you're going to do that for the next 2.5 hours just to get home. And I'm like, oh, that seems miserable.
It's just cut. Yeah, that's, I've when the year, you did Mid-South with us, remember? It was really windy. I remember that we had crazy wind doing 100 miles and got on the back half of the course, and it's 30-mile-an-hour headwind, without even a gust. And I'm looking down, I'm going like maybe 4 miles an hour. So there's like 5 of us. We're all trying to work together, but with that kind of strong wind, you're not going anywhere. And I'm looking, I'm like, I am done. I'm like, I feel like the cramps are coming on. I'm like, why did I do this? It's like, should I just sign up for the 50? Because I know I get it. Even if I get 15, 20 miles of wind, I'm like, I'll be okay. But you look at 100, but then 200 is, if the wind looks like it got worse on the back half of the race.
Yeah.
So the first legs are no longer there. And now you're fighting, these Midwest mountains that is the wind. Is kind of insane. Yeah, no.
I also heard that the worst storm of the day was actually after dark. And so there were people that finished like right after sunset that finished in like a torrential, like terrible monsoon from what I heard.
Man.
Yeah.
Dude, okay, so there's some videos. I want to talk about this. There's some videos of the pros going through this tunnel that looks like was going like above it was a train tracks, and it's just cow crap and water like mixed in, like a cesspool of bacteria and giardia or whatever. People are coming out. This one guy grabs a bottle and takes, it's like after, like you could clearly see that the crop was getting on your bottles. I mean, it was up to almost their knees. I'm like, dude, you're gonna be on the toilet after, like, if you even make it, like 30 minutes in with that kind of bacteria, you couldn't suck, man, or you're losing some socks out there.
You know who that guy was?
Who was it?
He's the dude that drank the pee bottle.
That's right.
In the Giro.
His stomach is made of steel. He's
exactly.
Like,
that's what it
nothing
was.
Here.
He was gut training. This is what the true spirit of gravel is now.
Like, right here.
You got to get yourself up to 120 grams of carbs an hour, and you got to be able to take on
any kind of bacteria.
A strong culture of E. coli and Giardia and everything like that. So,
yeah,
dude,
it gets in your stomach. It's like, what the hell?
So I actually was thinking about this. So it was because I heard multiple accounts that, like, people couldn't wear their glasses because they got so muddy, and then their eyes, like, were getting, they couldn't even open, like, their eyes were just, excuse me.
Yeah.
Like corneal abrasions and stuff. So I'm kind of wondering if would it be ridiculous to wear like a surgical mask when you're riding, and then like just to keep the mud off your face, and then also like someone's got to come up with like some like windshield wiper glasses, or like like jockeys. You know how jockeys, like riding jockeys, they have on these glasses, and I think rally car drivers to it, and it's the tearaways.
Yes, they might have to start doing that.
Oakley needs to come out with like here, shout out Oakley, not sponsored, but
But also that can be, somebody can design those and make them like where you just go, because you could just do the 3D laminating stuff, and so you can just get all the most popular brands of sunglasses, and people just go pick. I want to pick this, and you just stick them on your glass, and then
dude. Maybe if this whole podcasting thing, YouTube thing doesn't work out, then like we're gonna go do that.
We're gonna make those.
I honestly thought about that. I was like, they need to find a way to do that, so that way people can like still see, and then they also need to figure out a way to like put anti-stick. Like there has to be some sort of like composite that you could put in a rubber tire. That would be like, it's going to be super slick, so you're not going to have any traction at all, but it's not going to stick. Nothing will stick to it. Like some sort of like, I don't know, like
maybe on the sidewalls at the very least, right? Because the problem is, like, as you get the mud accumulating on your tread, it kind of spreads out into this sidewall, sticks there pretty good, and then it gums up your stays, and then your tires down.
Yeah.
And maybe you make that slick to where it just doesn't.
That or have like a built-in pressure washer on your bike, like
I heard that they had a rain route, Unbound had a rain route.
What was it, to ride into the rain?
No, to where it avoided that kind of level of carnage.
Yeah,
I mean, how do you in the Flint? In those hills, like how
That's the thing, is like,
how do you reroute this?
It comes back to me. I mean, I would hate to calculate the. Actually, this is a good thing for all bike shops. Like, shout out to World of Bikes and Flat Tire. I'm sure you're going to see some bikes in the shop that have been totally demolished. But that's the thing. It comes back to what I said. Is like, for the average consumer, this could, for some people, it probably turned into a $10,000 bike race
weekend, dude. Yeah. So let's for example, let's talk about. I'm glad you brought that up. I remember when I did Unbound. At the time, we stayed in the dorms, the Emporia University dorms. We didn't have an RV just yet. I think it was somewhere like maybe $800 or something like that. And that, that was when Yvonne did it back in 2020. So I'm sure it's gone up now. So 2 people, $1,600, entry $375, almost $400, let's say. And then you factor in, if you don't have support, you got to pay for support. And then you hit mud. The year I did it, I ended up screwing up some stuff. Bottom bracket, was riding through the puddles like for miles and miles. I think my repair bill was like almost $500. So it's very expensive. If you get a whole family of where both the husband and wife are racing, or even if you have teenage kids, one of the guys, Keith down with Mid-South, like his kids race gravel, right? So now you have 4 people in the whole family. You gotta, all riding through mud. Like, yes, it gets expensive pretty quick.
I would be pretty hard pressed to, if I knew that it was sloppy. That morning, if I'd woken up to do the race, and this might get some shade from our listeners, but if I'd woken up that morning and saw the pro race go through what it went through, and I knew that I was going to go do that, I would not. I would be like,
I'll see you next year.
I'm good. I'll see you next year. And it's not because I don't think I can do it. It's just that, like, I don't want to rebuild my bike. I don't want to have to put new bearings in my wheels. I don't want to have to get new pads and rotors and a new bottom bracket and a new, say you've got SRAM Red, a new $500 cassette and a new chain, and like, it's just, for me, I would have a better experience, and I think that's totally okay. Like people shouldn't feel bad about
absolutely.
that. Like, you know,
Like
yeah, I wish at that point too, like Lifetime would say like they understand that about their customers, and say I pull out, then it's like, okay, if you withdraw because of conditions before the race happens, or even during the race because you have a catastrophic event, I think you should be guaranteed entry next year at like a 50% cost.
Yeah.
And so that way
that would be nice.
you're still paying for it and everything like that. Then you're going to come back, but like you get to choose if it's like the adventure that you really want to have. Because even without the rain, 200 miles in the Kansas desert, Flint Hills, not desert, but like is a lot. But
and let's be honest, we do this for fun, right? We do this to, you know, life is hard enough. So that's why we go to do these events, to hang out with our friends and do the things that we love to do, and that's riding bikes.
Yeah.
And just the thought of like, okay, I'm riding my bike 200 miles, man, I'm going to have a crazy repair bill. That all weighs you down, reduces your performance, it stresses you out. It just kind of takes away from the joy of riding a bike. And I get it. I get it if you're doing 50 miles. I get it, Schwamagan, if the fire tower climb is loose and you have to hike up, 400 meters. Sure, that's fine. But miles, 4-5 miles of hiking mud, it's not cool.
And like you said, that like under, like they put that water crossing underneath the railroad. So, and I think the reasoning was that they didn't want to have to worry about the train schedule, because there are trains that just like stop out there and it would ruin people's races. But dude, like if you rode through that water, you are most likely replacing your bottom bracket, your bearings in your wheels at a minimum. And it's like you just took 30 seconds and made like a $600. Not that exactly. Much, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, why would Unbound make someone have to make that decision? Like, why would they do that? That's just cruel and unusual.
The funny meme comments, the internet is very interesting, but they're like, you could tell who pays for their bikes and who doesn't based on who was riding through that cesspool of water there. Like, oh yeah, you could tell, like, oh no, this privateer is paying for his own bike. Like, it's like he's really losing money being here. Don't need to go home with another huge repair bill. Good
What'd you think
though.
about the coverage this year, like by Lifetime?
I think they did really good. Really good. I really didn't have too much to complain about. I know that the stream was kind of cutting in and out here and there, but that's different because of technological limitations. It was cloudy on and off, and Sterling is affected by those clouds. So I definitely understand that technology piece of it. But I think they did pretty good. They need to do better on knowing. I don't know how you do it. At least maybe some of the best heaters, you need to kind of, maybe they need a way to identify riders. I don't know how they do it, but that was kind of disappointing. Like, oh, I don't know who that is. I'm like, well, that's why I'm counting on you, the media guy, to tell me who it is. So that was a little bit disappointing, but
I feel that way too. I thought the coverage was great. I mean, they had a helicopter on, and they had 4 shots. They usually had the lead women, lead men, chase group, which that's pretty good for a bike race. And they bounce back and forth between the men's and the women's coverage. Like I have 2 gripes. One is, you just didn't know who the riders were unless you really knew it. And it's not that difficult for a field that small to put GPS tracking on every rider, right? So that way you can say, okay, I know that these 6 riders are these people, and then that way we know who's there, and then also it would be easy to get time gaps at that point.
Yeah, and you have the motor right there that's tagging them, right? It's filming them. It's got the Sterling, so let that be checking in with their tags on their number plates or whatever.
Yeah,
good to go.
That would be good. And so that way we could know like what the strategy of how the race is actually unfolding and understand, which we kind of knew, but it would be nice. I think this other thing that's frustrating to me is like there's still such a lack of depth when it comes to the commentary. it feels to me that like these commentators, while they know Lifetime well, and they know Unbound really well, and they know the course really well, what they don't know are like the riders. Like, it feels like they've been giving a dossier on 6 riders. And it's like, hey, just talk about these 6 riders in the men's, talk about these 6 riders in the women's, know these 3 facts, and just like go from there. That's all you got to do. But like, the fact that they, at one point there was like a Ridley rider, I think, and he was like putting his chain back on because he had gotten dropped, and he's riding while he's putting it on, and like they were right next to him, and they had no idea who the rider was. Like it wasn't a mud issue. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, this is kind of embarrassing. Like you only have like, even if you know the top 50, like that person clearly is in the top 50, like know who these people are, like know what their palmares are. So that way, like the audience can be informed and maybe develop a relationship with these riders and follow them and like have a reason to watch this, right? Like say that dude puts his chain on while he's riding and then sprints back up and takes off on the front. Man, he's like, oh, that's a guy I want to cheer for. So that was my frustration there in that sense. And I think they'll get better. And I'm not a production director of races or anything like that. So who knows what goes into that, but things as a consumer that I would like to make the races a little more interesting would be that. And then I do want to mention something that the pros, I heard some of the pros mention, but a lot, it's been kept very hush hush. The men's race, when they took off and they were supposed to go left and they went right. And it like, they rode for like a half mile the wrong direction and then like had to get back on the course because the lead motos went the wrong way.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. I'm like, it was not any one rider's fault. It was actually the organization's fault. That's a big one. That's a big one, I'm surprised people are not talking about that quite a bit more.
I know. And I'm also surprised people aren't talking about I heard that there was a pretty dangerous lightning storm for the amateurs and like the front end of the amateurs and the back end of the pros. I heard it was like pretty sketchy. So I don't know.
And you in the Flint Hills, it's wide open, right?
Yeah, wide open. You're riding a metal bike, like the tallest thing around out there. That's probably why Matt Beers rode so fast. He was like, "All right, I'm the tallest guy out here.
I'm the tallest guy here. I'm gonna be the quickest way to ground."
Yeah.
But maybe you get hit by lightning, and you become, flash. You become fast.
True. I mean, how many watts are in a lightning strike?
Oh. Tens of thousands, I believe.
Tens of thousands, something like that.
Like 10,000 kilowatts. Yeah.
Overall, I thought it was cool. Like, I mean, I think with the team tactics of Keegan giving his wheel away, I think with the advent of the 32-inch tires, the mud, the fact of the matter that like no matter how much you prep, like if Mother Nature says it's going to be a bad day, like you're going to have a bad day, but. I think a lot of riders will take a lot from this, and the amount of preparation that we see next year going into the pro race will be comical to some, but I do think ultimately necessary given what happened this year.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Graham. I thought that after the last mud get, that people would have learned their lesson because a lot of the same characters felt, to the same demise this time around. I'm like, hey guys, you've been through this before, so maybe fool me once, fool me twice, kind of situation. Maybe this is it. But hey, Gravel Worlds will be kind of, that's obviously they have other races, but Gravel Worlds is another one of those that has the potential to be muddy, but a lot of these heaters will be there because of the payout that will be there. So shout out. We actually should get Jason on here so that we can get some of the deets ahead of time for our listeners.
Yeah, that would be good. I've heard he's doing some fun things with the course. I heard. I don't know if it's been announced, so we won't say it. I won't spoil it, but I've heard.
They did announce finally.
Oh, they did. Oh, yeah. Sick. So they're riding through the airport, right? Or like the museum. What is it? A museum?
Museum.
Yeah.
I told Sophia that if this leaked, that it was gonna be Graham for sure. That
it would be.
Told the masses.
Yeah, don't tell me. I can't keep a secret to save my life, so don't tell me.
I told her like right away, I'm like, hey, Sophia, if this happens and gets out in a while before your announcement, Graham did it.
Blame it on me. It's always fair. Yeah. But okay, well, I
Awesome.
kept my mouth shut this time, so I'm proud of
You
myself.
did. You did. Yeah.
Sweet.
Maybe they'll invite you back. Awesome.
Yeah.
Shall we close it out?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks everyone. If you got questions, if you got thoughts on what we talked about, what your plans for Unbound are next year, or what you got, hit us up. You can email us at listeners at mixedsurfacespodcast.com, or comment on our Instagrams, or let us know what you want to talk about, what you want to hear, and we're always happy to listen. But thanks for being with us. Go out and ride your bike.
Sweet. Thank you guys. Until the next one.